For us, from the very start of this, it came, we thought through the questions of where can we provide utility and where can we provide comfort? Because in that first phase, that is exactly what people needed. So it's all, coming through the lens of what do consumers need and what phase of this, this, I guess, pandemic. Um, as I mentioned, it's starting to shift a little, and you could see even now people are looking for entertainment or activities. So as they build that, to me, the quick wins are just looking at, well, what can we provide? Within our products, where do we fit into what people need? And so for us personally, early on in that utility and comfort, it was very obvious of making sure that we had product out there, and then moving into making sure that we had recipes and ideas, to give people, being where they are. It was definitely an opportunity also to make sure our brands, messages and such were out there as well, but kind of again through the lens of comfort and utility. And you hear about it, certainly value. The value equation is probably going to be a bit more price sensitive when you look at price, but also wanting more, right? More benefits of what you choose to put your dollar to. So I think the value equation, absolutely number one, as people, either because of recessions or, whatever that it's related, you hear definitely a lot about that. And then I think the second piece I would talk about is around what does shopping look like? Parts that we're beginning to experiment with is around virtual, what does virtual parties or virtual classes, what does that look like? I think honestly, at this point, no one knows. We all know that we spend a lot of screen time now, whether it's Zoom calls or whatever it is. And so there's a balance of how much do you want to be engaged in that. But those are things that it is that idea of taking physical experiences and how do you make them virtual? How do you replicate that if people don't want to be in physical activities with large groups of folks or with strangers? So I think that's for me, just thinking through as a marketer and the different levers that we use. That's the single biggest one that has changed, that forever, in the near future, in the midterm future, you just don't see that happening. Sponsorships, what does that now mean if events aren't going to be happening? And so it's thinking through the things that no longer are really relevant, but how do you innovate? It then becomes a time of what does an in-store experience look like? How do you provide where do you show up and what and such? What do you do in store versus even how do you create experiences with brands that don't involve a physical aspect to it? So sampling, et cetera. As I think about, take this a little to entrepreneurs, so many small brands were developed and grew through one-on-one relationship building. And so future state, you could still do that, but it has to probably be more virtual versus physical. What does that look like? So many things. The first is how they're buying the product. We definitely believe that the e-com adoption has been accelerated by at least 5 years. So I imagine that will continue, and it will just continue to grow, and consumers will continue to be comfortable with that. It won't be the only way, obviously, but that's one factor. But that has implications. It has implications at the retailer end of operations and finding efficiencies of that. And then if you think about shipping and handling, all of those pieces, right, those things will remain. The second part is around the people have been upskilled in cooking and baking. And so how do we retain some of that? How do you build upon that? as people start to, you know, to even, you know, once we get fully past the pandemic, that will be forever part of them. And so how do you keep some of that? How do you retain some of that behavior? And then the third piece, you know, and I think this one is the biggest unknown. It is how will we recover the world economy? And the implication to what we do becomes, again, that value equation. You know, we were really fortunate to have a very strong economy for an extended time. And during those times, people are willing to try things. They're willing to pay a premium. They're seeking premium. What does that now look like? Because I don't think this is, you know, a typical recession that comes back in just a couple of years. And, you know, but I think this is the big unknown that everyone is trying to understand is what does the economy look like and for how long? For how long?